the 15th of August and another glorious day, and I'm back down the allotment. I've just dug up another 10 potato plants and I've got half a box, or nearly half a box of potatoes. I've still got another 5, 10, 15 in that bed, and then some more in another bed to dig up. But after digging up those 10, I thought I'd have a little break and move on to something else and then come back to the potatoes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to harvest all of my kohlrabi. I did harvest a few before I went on holiday, and they were about the size of, slightly bigger than a tennis ball. So they're just the right size, but the rest have actually got quite large. So you need to make sure that they don't get too large, otherwise they get quite woody inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to harvest all of those now. So I'll give you a quick look at the potatoes that I've got so far, because they're all very good sizes. Very pleased. Each plant had a really good amount, enough potatoes for, I would say, 6 or 7 people. So they are doing incredibly well today. So I'll give you a quick look at those and then we'll move on to the kohlrabi. So here are the potatoes I've got so far. It's a big box and it's nearly half full, but as you can see, they're all, I've got lots that sort of size, but loads as well that sort of size, and some even bigger than that. And these are the King Edward's ones. They've done very well as well. So far with the potatoes, I am really pleased. So in amongst all the weeds that have decided to grow up, there is a load of kohlrabi. They're all varying sizes, so let's remove the net and see what we've got. Right, well, let's look at these two here. You may be able to see that the one's slightly further out. This is a good size. This one's actually quite large, but it's fine, it's okay. They seem to have sort of drooped over a bit. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull them up. You should be able to just grab hold of the bulb and just pull them up like that. If you can't, then you're going to have to get your fork in and just pull it up. But these are actually seem to be coming up really quite well, which is good. So there's a few little sort of blemishes on them, but it doesn't matter because you'll actually peel these. You don't eat the skin, so it doesn't matter if there are a few marks on the kohlrabi itself, because you're going to take that off anyway. So I'm going to harvest all of them and then I'll show you what I have. Right, well, I've just harvested them all. They're all sort of around here. I'll just show you some. Some are very tiny and have actually started to go a little bit on the wrinkly side like this. These actually feel quite hard inside, so these have most probably gone too far. In fact, to be honest with you, they are going to be a bugger to peel. But what I would suggest, if you do have any that are like this, if you're making vegetable stock or chicken stock or any form of stock, just put these in the water and boil them with the rest of the vegetables that you've got, and then they'll sort of, you won't waste them and some of the flavour will go through. So I will do that because I've got to make some chicken stock when I get home. So I'll put these in with chicken carcass and some onions and all the rest of the bits and pieces. So I will use these. Okay, if you put them in chicken stock or vegetable stock, you don't need to peel them. And then we go up to some lovely proper size ones. Okay, it's decided to try and split into 2, but that doesn't matter. That will be a perfect one. And then we go up a little bit bigger, and as I say, some of them, in fact most of them actually, have got markings on their skin, but don't worry about that because obviously you're going to peel it before you roast it. And my largest one, oh, I think this has to be the strangest one. There we are. It's like that, and it's split there, but that doesn't matter because you'll just peel that bit off. And I think my largest one is this one. I think this is the largest one, or it could be that one. No, it's definitely this one. There we are. That's quite a sizable one. So there. You can also eat the leaves as well, so just check that there's no white fly on them or anything like that. It's entirely up to you. They're very nice if you sort of saute them, until they're sort of just starting to go soft, like you would spring greens as well, or you can boil them. So that's my kohlrabi, a nice lot again this year. They are very easy to grow. If any of my leaves are damaged, which some of them are, then what I will do is I'll tie them together and I'll give them to the chickens. So that's the kohlrabi. I'll just clear this bed of all the weeds, and then that's one bed done, or another bed done, and then I'll move on to something else. Now here we've got what's left of the broad beans. You may remember that I actually did harvest a load before I went on holiday, and I was going to wait until I got back to do the others, but by the time I came back they've all gone brown, so they've all finished, but there are still pods on quite a few of them, so I will harvest these pods because inside are the beans, and if they are unblemished, as these ones are, then, oops, I dropped that one. What I will do is I will put these in an envelope. Make sure they're dry before you put them in an envelope. I'll put them in an envelope and I will keep them for next year, and these will be the ones that I will sow next year. You could also leave these to go dry and then soak them and then you know, make them into a stew if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. So you could also use some if you're making pastry and you need that little bit of weight to stop the pastry from coming up. So I'm going to harvest what I've got left of these. There are quite a few, but then that's fine because I'll reuse them. So if some of your pods do go brown, or if you miss them, then just keep the pods and use them again next year. Now here are the broad beans. These were Bunyard Exhibition. These are all the ones I've managed to harvest. They've all got seeds inside them, so I will take them home and this afternoon I will pop them and take all the seeds out. But as I say, I will save these for next year. They did really well. You can see the pods are really long. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 beans in that pod. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 in that pod. Bunyard Exhibition are very, very good, and they seem to be the best ones I've tried so far. So I'll save those seeds and plant them next year. Right, and also in this bed, in amongst these few weeds, there are some shallots. It wasn't until I started to get the broad beans up did I remember that they were in there. So they've grown really well. In fact, I did actually harvest one set before, or sort of one clump before we went away. There's one here. They are sort of, there's one here, there's some there, some there. There's quite a few. So you can see that the greenery has all died. So once the greenery is all died, then they're ready to come up. So I'll get the fork in there and let's see what we've got. Push the fork down really well. When you do use your fork to pull them up, because the shallots spread, you need to make sure that your fork, you put it in at least 2 inches away from one of the little shallots. Pull right back and hopefully they will reveal themselves as they are here, and they are really ready to come up because you pull one and they all fall apart, which is absolutely fine. Some of these are actually gone a little bit soft, but that's a really good one. I'll dig the rest of them up, and then when I've dug them up, then I'll show you what I've got. Right, well there we are. That's what I've got. I only had, I think it was about 9, because I'd already harvested one, so I think there were about 10 in the pack. They're all in their little sort of clumps. Some have fallen apart. Some have done better than others. Some are quite sort of small, and some are, you know, decent sizes. In fact, that one's actually split again, and that's a good size one. So they all vary in size. But yes, not too bad. You can use these straight away, but if you want to store them, you need to make sure that you dry them thoroughly in a dry, frost-free place. A greenhouse is always really good because the sun gets in there. So if you have a spare shelf, then you can stick these on there for about a month, I would suggest. You need to do exactly the same with your onions if you want to store them, because if they're not dried properly and you store them and some of them are slightly damp, then it will go mouldy, and then it will make the rest go mouldy as well. What I usually do with my shallots is, when we have sort of roast vegetables, is I will take one of them, peel the outer skin off, the loose skin, chop the top off there, and then just roast it whole like that with a load of other vegetables. And then when it's cooked, then you can just squeeze it out, and it's really sweet and really nice. So that's the shallots. Right, well, I think that's going to be all for today. I've been down here for nearly 2.5 hours, and I need to go home now and have something to eat. So I'm pleased with what I've managed to get done. Still got loads more potatoes to pull up, but I've also harvested a little bit of rocket, which I showed you last time anyway, but I've just harvested a bit more. Some more radishes, and another beetroot as well, because I was just looking at it and there was one that was very close to another couple, so I just pulled that one up as well. But we're sorting it out slowly but surely, and we're getting there. It's going to take a long time because it's all really quite overgrown at the moment, but if this weather keeps going, I'll be down here every day. Well, I hope you found what I've shown you useful today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye bye. They were sort of slightly bigger than a tennis ball, which is, oh God.